And what is good, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we got our special guest, Sir Benjamin Tau-White. Yes, sir. I am bringing him out of retirement. It's been a couple years since he's filmed a video. It's been a minute since he's even posted anything. But my man came back so he can get on this important subject that we are talking about today, which is singleness, dating, and marriage. So first things first, how you doing today, my dog?
A1, bro.
A1?
How you favor, yes, sir.
All right, so we're going to jump straight into it. We're going to talk about some singleness. Everything comes in a season, so we're talking about the season of singleness in this first segment. When it comes to the season of singleness, what are some things that you succeeded in and some things that you failed in? What are your successes and failures when it comes to your when it comes to your season of singleness?
Some of my failures would be for surely rushing into things. As you know, like our family is very, you need to hurry and get married.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it was a huge thing. I would say another thing, man, not knowing my value and not knowing my worth.
Right.
And I feel like that's also because I mistreated my season, you know what I'm saying,
Mm-hmm.
of singleness, by searching, and chasing and over pursuing, and you know what I'm saying, instead of focusing on my craft, focusing on my purpose, and most importantly, spend time with God.
Absolutely. I feel like I failed a lot of the times in the same way. That was a lot of my failure was, focusing on all of the wrong things and fumbling the season of singleness, when that season is really supposed to be about finding purpose and self-development and growing into a man or woman, if you're a woman watching this. But really, because we're men, we're speaking from perspectives of men, and we're talking mainly to men. But if you are a woman watching this, take what you will from this with a grain of salt. But yeah, bro, like I think one thing I definitely did failing in my season of singleness was trying to rush into relationships and doing too much searching for relationships. I feel like a lot of times we do that. And yeah, the Bible may say, he who findeth a wife findeth a good thing, and that very much is true. I speak from experience. But the Bible does not say, he who searches for a wife and then finds her finds a good thing. When you find a wife, it's supposed to be like, when you're walking down the street and you find a quarter on the floor, you find like a wallet on the floor. That's what finding a wife is meant to be like. It's not supposed to be like, oh, I'm searching. And I feel like a lot of times that's what we've done, especially as, men who have grown up in the church with a family that's very Christian and church oriented, and very much you need to find a wife and get married. So that I'll agree with you when it comes to saying that, like, I have definitely failed in my season of singleness when it came to self-development, and when it came to focusing on myself and just chasing cat when that was nothing that was even beneficial to my purpose or to my life. And I say that even right now, because the things that I did back then, yeah, though I may have grown from it, I wouldn't say that it has any current benefit.
Yeah.
But what are some of the successes that you had in your season of singleness? Did you ever get it right?
Yeah, man. I feel like, well, first and foremost, I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason.
Right.
So, did you get it right?
Yeah. Did you get it right at some point? Did you? Because, when we get in and out of relationships, we have multiple seasons of singleness, right?
Correct.
So at any point, whether it was before your first relationship or after your third relationship, did you ever get it right? Did you succeed?
Yes. And I was able to succeed because of my failures.
Right.
I was able to learn and use what I learned and apply it. Something that I feel that kind of catapulted me or gave me a head start is because when I was 17 years old. I graduated from Franklin High School, and I moved into a spot with some friends, and I spent a lot of time in introspection. I did a lot of time self-reflecting and going over who am I, and did some searching on like who is Sir Benjamin? What are some good traits that I get from my mom? What are some bad traits I get from my mom? What are some good traits I get from my dad? What are some bad traits? And then looking down into my lineage. And that's something that I feel like kind of gave me an edge on my singleness journey. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I most definitely made a lot of mistakes, but when it comes down to having morals and having a compass, I can say that's something that kept me. You know what I'm saying? There's certain lines I would cross, certain lines I wouldn't cross. Even when it came down to, and if I'm being honest, I'm being transparent, bro, when it came down to, threesomes, foursomes, whatever you want to call it.
I'm sorry, I'm sick. Whoa. I know my dog is getting down like that.
No. But that's the thing. I wasn't.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? But I'm saying when certain things were presented to me.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'm talking about bro, because when you're young, and I'll tell you something else. I've always known all my life I'm gonna be successful.
Right.
Always.
Right.
I've always known I'm gonna be somebody.
Right.
So even if I was constant and aware, I'm not perfect whatsoever.
Right.
But I was always aware, for one, how I treated people,
mm-hmm.
how I treated women that I talked to, dated, whatever the case may be. And then two, like, once again, who am I? How do I want to be remembered? And soul ties. So I feel like that's some of the successes I had, man, is kind of establishing that foundation, bro, and never leaving that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, mm-hmm. never getting too out there, and having a balance between, like, not being a complete follower.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Like, maintaining at least some sense of morality and standards.
Absolutely.
And, I can agree with you on that. I can most definitely agree with you on that, because even for me, like, there were certain lines that I wouldn't cross, and, there were certain things that I wouldn't do. But when it came to, like, successes, at least for myself, I think in my final season of singleness, before I got married, what I mastered was searching oneself, searching within myself to figure out what's working, what's good, what's not good, what's benefiting me, what's tearing me down, And when you really start to look inside and figure these things out and get rid of the stuff that's tearing you down, and you focus on the things that build you up and you flourish, you not only become your best self, but you begin to find purpose, and you begin to find joy in life, and you even begin to find joy in loneliness, in solitude. 100%. I don't want to use the word loneliness, because the word loneliness is actually associated as it's known for being a bad thing. But solitude, man, when you learn to master that, it's a beautiful thing. You almost don't even want to date anybody after 100%. That. And that was me, like, when my wife Sierra, when she finally came along, bro, and you were there, bro, I was over there, like, I was comfortable. I was happy with myself. I was happy with my life, because I found purpose and I found myself, and I was doing good, and I found joy in solitude.
And I think something else that I learned, man, is, man, be a friend. That's the most important thing. Like, in my life currently today, I don't care about it, man. Like, respectfully. And I don't want to say I don't care, but a lot of things hold very little weight, if at all, any, to me. Being a friend and finding and or having someone, having a partner, or just people in your group, people in your corner that will love you almost in a sense like unconditional.
Right.
You know, and I think that that's important. You know, not to get too ahead or whatever, but that's something that's important is when you're single, learning who God is.
Mm-hmm.
Because I believe that when you learn who God is, you'll learn who you are, you'll learn whose you are. Most importantly, you'll learn what love is and what love looks like.
Absolutely.
A lot of times we don't know what love looks like. We don't know what love is. And I feel like that's one of the things that causes us to pursue the woman. Or,
Right.
you know, for women, that's one of the things that causes, you know, them to pursue males.
Right.
Is because there's a void that we're trying to fill. We have our parents' love.
Yeah.
You have your family's love. But for real, if we're being honest, a lot of times we don't even know each other. Your mom, my mom did not know me until I turned like 15. And like I told my mom 15, 16, and I sat my mom down and like I really had a conversation like, this is who I am, da-da-da-da. And that was like when I started to take off. But knowing what love is and what love looks like. Because when you know that and you have that for yourself, you talk about solitude, you won't even entertain things that will take away or that will distract you.
Right. Absolutely.
Because it's like you really know your worth. You really know what it means to be loved, and you know what you're looking for. So you're not gonna waste your time. You're not gonna surround yourself with people and or get involved with people or certain relationships that don't bring value, add value. But most importantly, there's not a pouring. You know,
Right.
There's not an iron sharpening iron.
Right, absolutely. And so now that we're kind of moving into this subject, with us having discussed successes and failures, what do you believe the foundation or like the framework of the single season should look like for a man, and maybe even for a woman, but mainly for a man, because that we're men, we can only give perspective as men. But how do you believe that season of singleness should look like, that season of solitude? What should that look like?
I think that it should look like, and it should involve, not to be cliche, but a lot of time with God, man. Especially as a man, you know, starting with Genesis, straight up. Because it's important for the first thing, for you to know who you are and for you to know your role. Bro, I love everything that there is to be a man. Everything. The good, the bad, the ugly. Because to be a man, bro, it's a honorable, you know, it's not the easiest, but it's an honorable responsibility. I mean, and it's so great because you lead, bro.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not to get too off track, but like, for instance, you speaking today. Lives were changed through you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you understood your role, you understood your position. And that's so important because so many times when we get in relationships, males and females both do it, something happens, something goes wrong, boom, 9 times out of 10, you're going to call somebody outside of that relationship. And then you're going to give them your ear, which is what Adam did. You know what I'm saying? Which is what Eve did.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And look at what it caused. And it's that same very thing that can cause division. So I would say during that time, man, time with God, learning who you are, spending time identifying triggers, traumas, healing, if you need healing. Because a lot of times our trauma, it starts when you're young.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? It starts, man, bro, whether you're molestation, you know what I'm saying? Whether you're rejected, whether you're put down, you're talked to, like it starts young. So that's another thing during that time is, man, identifying your traumas. As a man, writing down a vision, you know what I'm saying, and making it plain.
Right.
Executing towards that vision. And being everything and all that you desire to be and see in the world.
Okay, absolutely. I agree with that. So basically, what you're saying is, in your season of singleness, number one, put God first. Allow Him to be the center of your life. Allow Him to heal you, to change you, to transform you, to mend scars and heal traumas. And then number two, focus on discovering who you are and discovering your purpose. And number three, focus on being your best self and living out your purpose and bringing your visions into fruition, correct?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%, especially because in my final season of singleness, those were the things I did. I put God first. I allowed Him to change me mentally, spiritually, emotionally. I learned who I was. I allowed Him to heal my traumas, heal my pains, especially the wounds that I had from previous relationships.
Definitely.
Because, a lot of us, we may not have wounds from previous relationships, or at least intimate relationships, but sometimes we have wounds from like family relationships or platonic relationships.
100%.
So I allowed God to heal those things within myself, and then after that, I moved into finding my purpose and doing what made me better. And then after that, I was being my best self, and I was living in purpose, doing what I loved, which was creating content and, being my best, most genuine self. And that was all through God and because of God. So I agree with that 100%. But moving on now into the season of dating, what are some of the things that you failed at in your seasons of dating?
Bro. Man, bro.
We about to drop a list on y'all.
Being afraid, bro.
Fear.
Straight up. Being afraid of love. I'm someone that knows how to love. I give love. I love hard.
Right.
But when it came down to receiving, like I kind of would like self-sabotage a lot.
And why is that?
Scared of being hurt. I was afraid to get my heart broken. You know what I'm saying? Because one thing about like I'm different, bro. I'm really different. Like I love different. I mean, there's time, bro. I've been this type, bro. I've told a woman, you know what I'm saying, like I'm just getting to know her, boom, but she's cool, she's good people, and something about me is as you know, we have gifts,
Right.
and I can sense, I can pick up on certain things, boom. And a lot of people I come across, man, if I rock with you, or you tight, or like you just, if you're giving, and I see that you're, man, I'm rocking with you, and
Absolutely.
I'm the type, man, I mess around and tell somebody, man, I love you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But because I understand the difference between I love you and I'm in love with you.
Right.
There's a difference.
Right.
And, as I began to be able to like identify like my fear and my self-sabotagement, I realized, oh shoot, it's the same thing. So I would say that's one thing, bro, is man, being afraid of love, being afraid to let people in because I'm afraid that they're gonna hurt me. And I mean, one of the biggest reasons being is because, bro, if my own family would hurt me, then who are you? What would you do to me? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, bro, I think that's like that's a huge one. Another one, like I said, man, just rushing into things, not communicating. My lack of communication, like I'm holding everything in, bro. And there was, one in particular, bro, that at the time, you know what I'm saying, that she really just wanted to love me, bro, and wanted to, and I just rejected and just pushed and just, I was afraid, bro. So yeah, man, just fear, afraid of love, as crazy as that may sound, and rushing into things, man.
I feel that, and especially like, as far as fear goes, that I would say that's one of my failures, but it wasn't the same kind of fear that you experienced. I feel like my fear was being afraid that somebody would love me but then all of a sudden stop loving me. That was my fear. And I think that's what caused me to do the same thing you did, but in a different way, was rush into relationships. Because in the beginning, when my emotions were going, the chemicals, the infatuation stage, and when I felt that, I was scared of losing that. I was scared of letting that go. So that's why I would always rush into relationships so quickly, because I wanted to see, like, okay, maybe if I rush into it and I tell this girl I love her and I treat her like my wife, maybe, just maybe, she'll love me back the same way. She'll treat me like her husband, and then we can get married and build a family together. But unfortunately, not everybody's built like that.
100%.
And that was definitely those were definitely two of the mistakes I made in my season of dating. One other mistake I'll say that I made is having a lack of respect for myself.
Yeah.
Because because I was scared of losing love, and because I wanted to be loved so bad, and because I rushed into these relationships hoping that these women would stay with me, man, I let them walk all over me sometimes. I let them walk all over me. One of my exes, man, you remember I was getting ready to move to Texas for her. Like, she left the city. We were only dating for like a month, but I was like so infatuated with her that I was getting ready to leave to a whole nother state. I had packed up my stuff. I was ready to go. And she walked all over me. Literally the day after she left, she low-key started walking all over me, treat me like crap, didn't want to talk to me, was like, treat me bad. And then the last one before I met my wife, bro, and this one, to God be the glory, I took the time to go through the trauma and the pain and allow myself to heal in my final season of singleness. But what she did, bro, is it was Valentine's Day, and she broke up with me on Valentine's Day. Right after I brought her gift, I brought her all these balloons, all these flowers,
that's
car, bro. I went all out for this Valentine's Day, bro. And she pushed me away entirely. And it was 2 weeks before that. She was pushing me away like progressively.
She was winning you off.
Yeah, bro. And then Valentine's Day came, and I tried to, show her I still love her. It was done. And so after that, it was like I realized what a lack of respect I had for myself. And I had to realize in my season of singleness and then my season of dating, I gotta respect myself first. And I hope y'all are listening to this. Men, listen to this. Respect yourself first, because you are deserving of the woman that you want. You deserve respect. You deserve love. You deserve to be treated right. You deserve to be talked to right. And don't accept anything less than what you deserve. Because when you do that, when you compromise the standard that you have set for what you deserve to receive, you end up having a lack of respect for yourself. And that was my biggest failure in my season of singleness and my season of dating.
And I want to say something. Take it as you will, but I believe it to be true, wholeheartedly. Men understand this. That's why it's important for you to know who you are, know whose you are, and understand your role. And the reason why I say is because as men, the man chooses the relationship.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. Both parties choose. But it's the man that gets on his knee and asks the woman to marry him.
My bad.
You're good.
But I'm like, it's starting to rain. We might have to take this inside.
Well, shoot. It's up to you, bro. Or you can do a day 3. I told you, this is some heavy stuff.
Yeah, we gonna have to take this inside, y'all. We gonna finish this inside. All right, bro. So before we were interrupted by the wind and rain, what were you saying?
I was saying how it's important for the man to know his role, know his position, being a man, as well as his responsibilities, knowing who he is and knowing whose he is.
Right.
Because in a relationship, the man chooses the relationship.
Right. Absolutely.
The Bible says, "He that findeth a wife findeth a good thing."
Right.
Not the other way around.
Yeah, not she who findeth a husband.
Correct. Then, vice versa. On the contrary, the woman chooses who to have sex with.
Right.
And that's no disrespect, but we all know if a female don't open up her legs, which takes her to be submissive, which is part of her role. Not saying that as men we don't, submit as well, but then we know there ain't nothing going down. So it's important. And my mom sent me a video, and it was a pastor that was giving a message, and he said something that was very powerful. He said, when you fornicate,
right,
you as the man, you no longer lead. And that was powerful, and that's real. I can think about situationships, relationships, whatever you want to call it. And, somewhere, some way down the line, it's true. I find myself in the lead. And, that's the reason why, she might be able to talk to you kind of crazy.
Right.
And you got to assert your dominance and let her, hold on, don't get it twisted. But, bro, that's real. Yeah. Why? Because you gave her your life force, bro. What do you got? It pulls. It takes a toll on you. So, that's important. When you talk about knowing your worth, man, I let her walk all over me. And guess what? The fact of the matter is, bro, you're not the only one. It's a lot of men. Something that I've come to realize, bro, in our generation, a lot of men don't know how to lead.
Yeah, not only that, is in these new generations, they're like encouraging the men to be more submissive and encouraging 100%. The women to be more dominant and masculine. And like that's such a reverse, such a role reversal that it's like basically it's got the game messed up.
If we're being honest, it's demonic.
It is demonic, absolutely.
Because it goes against the word of God.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And not even trying to get too deep, bro, but it's like understanding your role, bro.
Right.
Something God kind of revealed to me is like even with Adam didn't understand who he was.
Right.
When the serpent came to evil, is it true, that you can eat from every tree in the garden? Well, yeah, we eat from all the ones, boom, but just except for the tree of life, of knowledge, boom, or disregard. Let me bounce, come back. Except for the tree of knowledge of good and evil, which is crazy because God didn't even say that they can't eat from the tree of life. Fast forward, she eats of it. She gives it to Adam. Hey, Adam, come try. His wife. Adam, come try. But and check this out.
And he took it.
He took it.
He didn't know his role.
God comes. He says, where are you? Oh, well, we hid because we were naked. Boom. Who told you were naked? Mm-hmm. Did you eat from the tree that God didn't? Well, it's the woman you gave me. Lack of accountability.
Yep.
What's the point? God ain't even, I gave you the command. I gave you the order.
Right.
I gave you the charge.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why being a man, a God-fearing man, is so important because you're the head of your household, bro.
Absolutely.
You're the head of the relationship. You're the head of everything.
Mm-hmm.
What excuse can you give God? Can you give man in this world? What excuse can you give? It ain't nobody coming to save you, bro.
Right.
Who are you without the money? I told you about me, being a leader, and I said I always knew I would be somebody, bro. Even in my singleness, I used to always tell myself, because if we being honest and we men, lust is a big issue as well.
Absolutely.
And I tell myself, bro, when I'm seeing females and, depending on where I'm at and just whatever, females is coming, flocking,
Oh, yeah.
And I would always have conversations with myself and I'd say, sir, if you can't handle the females at this level, what makes you think that when you get to where you're going, if God even allows it, what makes you think that you're going to be able to handle that? So that's another thing that's important.
That's true.
Is self-control.
Absolutely.
You have to be ruler and king over yourself. And that's so it's like we have to be real with ourselves as well.
Absolutely.
How can you expect a woman to follow you, to respect you, but you ain't even got control over yourself, bro?
Right. You can't even lead yourself in the right direction. You can't even lead yourself,
bro. You got anger issues. You lashing out. You doing this. You're not going to respect me. You're not going to be respected, bro.
Nah,
so I feel that's important.
Nah, absolutely. I feel that 100%. Because I feel like I had the same thought at some point, which, I actually had that same thought right before Sierra and I got together. It was that thought of like, if I can't control my urges right now, if I can't, master and discipline myself to where I can keep myself from committing adultery and creating all these new soul ties with different women at the level that I'm at, like, how can God trust me to elevate and get to a higher status where people are going to be drawn to me, some drawn to the success and some drawn to, the blessing. And, if I'm not able to control myself right now at the level that I'm at, how can I control myself at a higher level where people are drawn to me because of the success? And, there's those women that, they come from the devil and they want to tie their souls to you and 100%. Take your energy and, give you all these demons and all these spirits so that it can wreck everything that God blessed you.
100%.
So that is a huge thing. That absolutely. I agree with you 100%.
I'm down, bro. And it's like, in self-control, we don't understand how huge that is. That's what makes you attractive. It's kind of crazy because exclusivity, that's something that's not practiced, and that's something that's not talked about enough. That's something that we don't really know, we really don't understand. You know what I'm saying? Right. Even when it comes down to, and I learned this, even when it comes down to going out clubbing, partying.
Right.
Like, people, us as human beings, that suck, are so judgmental. And, there is a double standard, and I understand it to an extent, but at the end of the day, call a spade a spade. Like, call it for what it is. I'm a product of right is right and wrong is wrong. So if you see a female in the club every week, day in, day out, whatever, you form your opinion of her. Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? And I got I cracked her last week, whatever the situation is.
Right.
It's the same thing for you, though.
Yeah, bro, absolutely.
That's the reason why when you go to, if you're in school, when you're young, if you ever went to a new school, you had the juice.
Right.
Because who is that?
Nobody really knows.
Nobody knows you. Nobody's, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's the same thing for us with a woman, you know what I'm saying? You see her, she's attractive, whatever the case may be. You do your research, boom, nobody's conquered her. That makes her so much attractive. You really want, you know what I'm saying?
Nah, and you know what? I actually had a friend one time. I remember I was out and I had a friend, and I think there was this girl he was into. He had her Instagram pulled up. He went around the entire group of people that we were out with. He asked every one of the guys, "Hey, you know her? She valid? Cool. Hey, you know her? She valid? Cool.
Yeah.
Hey, you know her? She valid?" Yeah. Everybody was all like, "Nah, I don't know her. She valid." And that basically he was going around because he wanted to see, like, is this girl out there? 100%. Has she been around? What does her reputation look like? And, he wanted to ask that because he wanted to see if that girl was somebody that he could settle with, somebody that he could see himself being with. And I've been there too, bro. Because there was a girl, and I'm not trying to throw no shade. I'm not trying to judge anybody, but there was this girl, and I hung out with her all the time. She was so dope, and I began to become infatuated with her. And this was in my season of singleness. and I really liked her, and I saw her as somebody that I could, you know, fall in love with. But the one thing that stopped me was she liked to go out every weekend, be in the club every weekend, and get blackout drunk every weekend. Her friends would be texting me like, "Oh, hey Gio, this is so and so's friend. You know, I was just letting you know she's drunk right now. We're taking her home, but you know, just wanted to give you an update." And you know, me getting updates like that, that's cool. But for me, that just wasn't something that I wanted to deal with, bro. Because that just felt like, you know, that felt like a lot of babysitting. And as men, we're protectors over the people we love, bro. Especially when it comes to somebody that you want to make your spouse, somebody that you want to make your partner. You want to protect that person. You want to guard that person and guide that person. And that's instinctive, because as men, and it is biblical, we are the leaders. And and it is up to us to lead and guide. But I mean, aside from all of this, we are kind of getting off topic. So I want to shift us back towards what we were talking about, which is the season of dating, right? So we talked about some of our failures. Let's move into some of our successes. How have we succeeded? What are some of the ways that we succeeded in our seasons of dating? Even if they were failed relationships, whether it be something that you did for yourself in that relationship or something that you did for the woman in that relationship, what are some of the ways that you succeeded?
Being a boss.
Being a boss? Elaborate.
As I always say, being a boss, bro. Being the best man that I could be.
Okay.
Any and every female that I've ever talked to, that I've ever dealt with, ever dated, for one, they know I love them.
Okay.
And I mean that.
All right.
That's one thing I never was afraid to put out there, but so much to the point where I let them know early on, I want to see you happy with or without me. Because I know that love is not selfish. It's selfless.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that's one. Another success, bro, being a friend. Learning and establishing, man, just be a friend, bro.
Establishing a friendship.
Establishing a friendship. You know what I'm saying? Not being insecure, not pressing her, not, you know, judging, bro. Bro, be a friend. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
That taking things slow, bro. Establishing an order and giving her an option. You know what I'm saying? And not being forceful, not too long horn, but hey, look, this is the path that I'm currently on right now. Right. You know what I'm saying? I gotta do this. This is my schedule, this is my routine, da. Boom. If you want to spend time, all right, I'll you know, work it in, but after I take care of my business.
Right.
So I think that that's something, and pushing every woman that I've ever encountered. You know what I'm saying? Whether they were appreciative of it at that time, but like pushing them to be greater. You know what I'm saying? Pushing them to grow. You know what I'm saying? Pushing them to take leaps of faith, you know, in whatever endeavor it was that they wanted to do, whether it was moving to another state, whether it was starting a business, whether just whatever, man, and just being a cheerleader. And then last but not least, though not being perfect whatsoever, but always, and I mean always, sharing the word of God with them, bro. Like and you know this. Right. I don't care if we at a club. I don't care because it's in me. Right. You know what I'm saying?
And that's dope. Yeah. That's dope because I remember, you know, we were at the club that one time, bro. It's like 3 a.m. We're talking to like 5 different girls, and my boy Sir, he invites them all to church the next day, and I couldn't believe my eyes. I was in there like, couldn't believe my ears. I was like, wait. We in the club, it's 3 a.m. He just invited them to Sunday service at 10 a.m., which, you know, we were going to make it to that. And you know what? For him to even step out and do something so bold, I admired that because I'm like, man, that takes a different level of like, of boldness, I'm going to say. It takes a different level of boldness as a man of God who's in the club at 3 a.m, you know, perhaps even not always making some of the right decisions, but
100%.
But you know, it takes a level of boldness in God to still be able to try to push towards Christ, and so that's a beautiful thing.
And the reason being, was because I always made it in a point. I got to a point to where I got sick and tired of being fake.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
No, absolutely.
And there's levels to that. So like I would like let people know like, yeah, you might see me here, but I'm not even like, that's not even my thing. This is who I really am. And to be honest with you, if I'm being so real, bro, that's one of the things that drove a lot of females away, believe it or not. And that's what let me know everything I need to know.
Nah, yeah, I believe that 100%.
And it helped me come to myself. To where it's like, bro, look at what you're chasing.
Yeah, because you don't want to be around, whether it's male, I know we're talking about dating right now, but whether it's anybody, like you don't want to be around anybody that does not want to be around the real you. And I'm going to say, I think that's something that in dating, that's something I succeeded at, is always trying to be true to myself, being true to the love that I carried in my heart, letting these women know like, hey, I love you, I care about you. And like, I want us to have a good relationship. And even in my relationships, trying to incorporate God in the relationship, because I always knew that with God, that was the only way a relationship could truly and wholeheartedly succeed. So that was another way that I succeeded. Though the relationship didn't exceed, I succeeded in the dating season. Yeah. Because I still tried to incorporate God. And then another way was, at some point I did get it right. I learned to have respect for myself, learned to be confident in myself and who I am. And, like we were just saying, if somebody didn't want to be around the most genuine version of myself, I let that go because I want to be me. I want to be me around people. I want to be me around you, around my wife, around my family, my friends. I want to be the best version of myself. And if you can't accept that, then I don't want to be around you. I don't care if you're family. And I think we both understand that part too, because a lot of family, they don't want to see it, they don't want to be around us. Sometimes it's like them just hating, or sometimes they just don't like us. And I'll say that's definitely one of the ways I've succeeded. Now, as far as the successes go, how do you believe the season of dating? What should the season of dating look like?
Well, I want to throw another success in there.
Okay, throw another success in there.
That's good. That's good. But no, it's gonna go right into it.
Oh, okay.
That's listening. And I mean really listening. And so much to the point to where there being no pride.
Ooh, that's a really good one.
There being no ego. It's a problem that I've had, at a point in my life personally, but also a problem that I've had with females that I've dealt with. Listening and having no pride, no ego, bro. Like literally removing yourself to where when someone comes to you and tells you, hey, this is how I feel, emphasis on this is how I feel, not putting it on you, right? You know what I'm saying? Or trying to be like, these are my feelings, right, and I'm bringing this to you. So like we can work on it together. Mm-hmm. I think that's huge, and I think that's what it should look like. Because in order to be, for one, understanding that nobody's perfect, which is the beautiful thing. Just a moment ago, we talked about, man, I want to be real, being honest. Yeah. And what helped me to be able to move and to step out the way I moved, bro, when it comes down to telling somebody about Christ, I don't care what the predicament I'm in, whatever, boom, it's because God loves me.
Right.
Just as in spite of everything. So if God accepts me, if God loves me, the one that's for me will love me as well. That doesn't mean that I stay the same. Right. And I don't not grow. Right. But understanding that as just like a basic principle. So I feel like that's something else that contributes to the dynamic and how a relationship should look like. Mm-hmm. I do believe that it should be equally yoked. Yeah. Like you being an asset to each other. Right. You pushing each other. If you tell her, this is my goals and or this is what I'm going to do, she's not going to let you slack, but she's going to be on you and she's going to hold you accountable. You said you was going to do this, that, and the third, boom, boom, right, and vice versa.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with that.
I think praying together, you know what I'm saying? I think that will tell you a lot about your spouse, male or female.
Yep.
You know, whether you believe or you don't. I encourage you to believe if you don't. But I would say that being vulnerable, man, and showing who you are right out the gate.
Right.
Like I'm big on, you know, show me like the ugly sides first, because everybody shows you the good. But what good is that? Like, what good is a friend when everything's good? Because you're not always going to be good, and it's okay to not be good. It's okay to not be okay.
Absolutely.
So I think that, you know, those things are what should be involved in a healthy relationship.
Right.
And there are things that are key. There's things that are important. And lastly, but establishing a foundation. And that foundation, I can't stress it enough, but being God and friendship.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. Man, you made a lot of good points on that, because I believe that the dating season should look like this. When you begin to date or court somebody, I believe it should look like this. Number one, as an individual, you need to continue to live in your purpose, continue to be your best self, and continue to focus on moving forward in your purpose and being your best self. That's number one. Number two, be her friend. Establish the foundation of a friendship. And then that moves into being open and being genuine. Because when you are friends with somebody, the person, the girl, and you yourself, you're more open to revealing who you are. Whereas where you instantly just start dating, you're trying to give them a facade, a perception of you that you want them to see, and vice versa. So I believe in, building that friendship and being open. And then another thing, getting to know each other. And should that friendship flourish and you guys begin to discuss moving forward, talk about God. Incorporate God, and God should be incorporated in the friendship. But when it comes to the relationship, really incorporate him, because he'll be the glue. And that's when it comes to being equally yoked. Are you both striving for Christ, even though you both make mistakes? Are you both pushing forward for the kingdom of heaven, even though you may not be perfect? And then, like we talked about, knowing the love of God. When you have God in the center and you know the love of God, I believe this wholeheartedly. I believe it from experience, and I believe it to be true, that God will work out all things in that relationship. He'll teach you how to love, and he'll show you what love looks like when you are receiving it. So I believe that is what the foundation, and basically what the standard for your dating season should look like. But moving on now into the marriage season. Now you've actually been in this season before, but maybe not in the way that you've planned. So I want you to tell me from your personal experiences, the failures and the successes of your last marriage.
Before I do, I want to add something else. And
Okay.
Sorry, it's because it's a lot to talk about, bro.
Absolutely.
And to compact.
Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest things as well that's important is balance.
Absolutely.
Don't throw the Bible on at everything. Because you talk about failures, and we'll get into it. That was one of my failures. Because understand, people can and will use God and the Bible to manipulate.
Oh yeah.
And
absolutely.
to get you to do what. So and that's important, because a lot of I did not know until my first marriage, and the hell I went in that marriage. So under that, I'm sorry, I just had to throw it out there.
No, it's good. It's good. The people need to hear this, and I know that a lot of this is really deep. So even though we're gonna make this video, and this is probably gonna be like a more short. It's gonna be a long video, but it's gonna be like the basics. But we're gonna film 3 more parts of us getting more into singleness, getting more into dating, and getting more into marriage. But for now, this is just a little we're gonna call this a preview, a prequel, or something like that.
Yeah. My failures, bro. Not knowing my role. Not knowing who I was, bruh. You know what I'm saying? How I got married, old girl told me God said it's time.
Oof.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Need I say more? So
As men trying to follow God, man.
come on, bro.
You let her lead you. You
bro.
pulled an Adam and Eve, man.
100. That's
exactly
why I'm so
what happened.
big on it now. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But so I would say that. What I went through in the dynamic of marriage, it was so deep and so spiritual. So I would say, and this might not make sense to a lot of people, but I would go as far as to say, not having the best personal relationship with God, not having emotional intelligence, and sound wisdom, bro. And but most of all, I think that this is what trumps all that. Because if I had this, I wouldn't have had to worry about that. But not listening to myself, having my mom's voice in my head, having grandma's voice in my head, having well, I know that this is right. It's the right thing to do. Well, you want to do it right. Well, you want to So all those voices in my head, girl tells me, and mind you, around the time that this happened, bro, I just got my contract. You know what I'm saying? Beat an 8-year contract. How? By faith. So around this time, bro, I was heavily pursuing God.
Right.
You feel me? I'm like, Lord, you just gave me this. So Lord, if you tell me, Lord, I'm rocking. I'm just jumping. You feel me?
Yeah.
But those voices, man, and even though I'm like, those voices, bro. So that for me, that's the biggest failure, mistake that I've made, is having everybody's opinion, everybody's voice in my head, and using that to help me navigate in making my decisions.
Right.
And that was the worst thing, because guess what? At the end of the day, it's a relationship. And when I got involved in it, I was responsible. I was accountable. It's my life. I had to go through the stuff. Nobody was there. You know what I'm saying? So that being it, successes, bro, being me, loving. I mean, shoot, not to toot my own horn, but bro, being the best husband I could be, even to the point of being faithful, bruh. Going through some, in the words of my cousin Josiah, going through some it. You feel me? Going through some stuff and holding on to the wheels that fell off, but most importantly, having been stilled until God, I felt like a release from God. And I got the confirmation that I needed. So, bro, being what I knew or what I've seen a true man, a God-fearing man, and a husband to be, taking care of responsibilities and just all that stuff as far as success is go.
Okay, yeah, that's what's up. I definitely understand you as far as like having people's voices in your ears. One thing about me, I've only been married for about a year now. I've been married,
That's huge, bro. That's huge.
But yeah, I've been married for about a year now. I wouldn't call them failures, for example, because I haven't failed in my marriage. I will say that there have been some learning lessons, and the greatest one is, like you said, getting everybody's voice out of my head. Because when I let other people's voices kind of try to dictate what my marriage should be, bro, things would get sour. My attitude would get sour. The vibe would get sour, especially when it comes to like letting my mom's voice into the relationship or letting Lola's voice into the relationship. Anytime that I did that, those were learning lessons, because I realized when I let them have too much of a say or any say at all, the vibe is sour. And then all of a sudden I'm unhappy. And I'm feeling the type of way in my marriage, and my wife is wondering what's wrong with me. Like I was saying, I'd be over here feeling sour in my relationship and Sierra would be over here wondering what's wrong, and she didn't even do nothing. It was always letting somebody else have a say. As far as like any other learning experiences I've had, I'll definitely say learning to be patient, because I didn't know what patience in a relationship was until I got with Sierra. Being patient with somebody who makes mistakes, being patient with somebody who is not perfect, just like I'm not perfect, and even realizing that she's being patient with me, because I know I'm crazy sometimes. Like, I can be a lot to handle, but, and that's when it comes to getting rid of the ego and even having humility. So I'll say those were a couple of learning experiences that I've had in my marriage as far as successes go. And I'm blessed to say this, man. The biggest success is letting God lead me and letting God lead the relationship and hold the relationship together. Because, man, let me tell you, me and Sierra, literally a week after we got married, I lost my job. Jobless for like the first 3 to 4 months of my marriage, bro. That sucked. That was the worst time ever. But letting God be in the center, letting God provide. And yeah, it was tough. It was hard. We cried. We prayed. We were stressing out. But letting God lead us and hold us together, bro, that's the biggest success. Because a lot of people can't go through financial turmoil with their partner and stay. A lot of people give up. They bounce. Especially women, bro. They be ready to go find themselves a new man in Miami. You know what I mean? But
the wrong woman.
Yeah, the wrong woman. But to God be the glory. I was blessed with the right woman, and she's willing to follow me, just like I'm willing to follow God. And that's the biggest success in my marriage, is following God, because God has, He's led me to be able to help us and get back into position for us to succeed financially. And he's blessed me to follow my dreams. He's blessed me to follow him, which, again, to God be the glory. Because I followed him and because I was obedient, I was blessed to preach a word today at church. And other people were blessed by that word. And that was the biggest blessing ever. But yeah, man, as far as like the framework, what I believe your marriage season, and I don't even believe marriage is a season. I believe that once you are married, that's your life. So what marriage should look like, man, God needs to be in the center. The husband, God is over the husband is over the wife over the children. I don't have any children yet, but that is the basic framework. Now, when I say husband over wife, I don't mean that the husband is greater than the wife. No. The husband is the leader. He is the provider, and he is the protector, and he is, the foundation and the guidance of the family. But God, he be over that, the man, over the husband, and God is the one that builds the man to be all of those things for the wife, so that the wife can be the nurturer, the caregiver, and the helper, so that she may be able to help the husband and care for the children. So that's what I believe that the foundation and the framework of marriage should look like. Is there anything else you want to add on to that?
No, bro. I second that. You said it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the chain of command. There's nothing to add to that. It just is what it is.
All right, man. It seems like that's what we've got for today. I thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you, Sir Benjamin, for joining me.
All time.
And Sir will be returning, because like I did say, we will be doing a part 1, 2, and 3 where we do go deeper into these topics of singleness, dating, and marriage. I appreciate you guys tuning in to watch. Make sure you guys like, comment, share, and subscribe. And we're going to catch you on the next one. Peace.